Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, folks, we've all seen the devastation in Los Angeles due to the ongoing wildfires that have burned more than 40,000 acres of land this last week and have destroyed more than 12,000 structures and has led to more than 24 lives being lost. The fires are now the most destructive natural disasters in Los Angeles history. And despite the misinformation that's circulating here in the Capitol, in Southern California, and everywhere in between, it's clear that these fires only reach the size and the scale that they have because of unseasonably dry vegetation and extremely high winds, both of which are a direct result of climate change. Mr. Wright, thank you for being here. But as we've seen last week, the climate crisis and its deadly effects is very real to my neighbors and my constituents. As we discussed in our meeting yesterday, you were a longtime resident of California, so you've seen the conditions evolve firsthand. So I got to tell you, I was pretty disappointed to come across some social media posts of yours, and I'll quote. Understand you've written that the hype over wildfires is just hype to justify more impoverishment from bad government policies, end quote. Given the devastation that we're currently experiencing in Los Angeles, do you still believe that wildfires are just hype?
Sir, it is with great sorrow and fear that I watch what's happening in your city of LA.
Do you think it's just hype or not?
Climate change is a real and global phenomenon.
Is it hype or not?
I stand by my past comments.
So you believe it's hype, you know?
Climate change is a real...
Tell that to the families of the more than 24 lost in these fires and counting, because the urban search and rescue teams are still going property by property with cadaver dogs. That number is going to climb. I'm disappointed, Mr. Wright. Let me make reference to another element of your social media. You reposted a statement, so not your words, but you felt it important enough to amplify. A social media post, and I'll quote, "Now, obviously, burning to death in a fire is pretty grim, but that is not what is happening like the climate zealots would like you to believe," end quote. So again, to the families of more than a couple of dozen of my constituents who have died in these fires, and that number is growing, like I mentioned, do you believe that Californians who have died over the past week are somehow just a figment of our imagination?
Of course not, Senator. It is heart-wrenching to watch the destruction, most importantly, of people's lives.
And I'm not sorry for cutting you off here. I think the point has been made, and you're standing by your posts, and I assume the reposts as well. And I'll tell you why I'm further disappointed. We had, I think, a genuine conversation yesterday in my office. You said you have a science background. You pride yourself in leaning on facts and truth and evidence and data as you make decisions and decide which actions to take. So let me actually transition to something that's very substantive in this role, should you be fortunate enough to be confirmed. One of the most important functions of the Department of Energy is research. We've discussed the 17 national labs, and you referenced it earlier in your testimony, that are working hard to tackle critical scientific challenges. California is home to 3 of these labs, and we understand the need for these labs to advance our research and our knowledge. The data and research published by these labs and the department writ large are foundational for unlocking new technologies and maintaining our competitive advantages globally. Will you commit to publishing and not censoring non-classified Department of Energy research?
Absolutely, Senator. The scientific process has been a key driver of our progress, of our country, and of our world.
And let me tell you why I feel the need to even ask the question. It should be a no-brainer. Because it is a very real possibility that you may be asked by incoming President Trump, maybe through one of his intermediaries, to not publish or to withhold or otherwise suppress DOE research and studies. What would you do if asked?
I'm very proud to be serving, I hope, if I have the privilege to be confirmed, with incoming President Trump. He shares my passion for energy and for bettering American lives.
If asked, what would you do?
I will follow the scientific method. I will be honest in integrity and follow the laws and statutes of our country. Of course I will, Senator.
One other question, my very little time remaining, and I'll just sort of cut to the chase. In my office, you shared with me your opinion that federal subsidies do not make sense for mature industries, correct?
Less fruitful there, yes.
And you included oil and gas in the examples of mature industries, correct?
Correct.
So please share with me, with my colleagues on this committee, expand on your belief that if oil and gas are truly mature industries, then subsidies don't make sense here anymore, and we should retract those subsidies and maybe redirect those into smarter, more contemporary investments.
Yeah, as a career entrepreneur, a free market advocate, my goal is to have a small role for government in business, particularly in mature businesses, just as I discussed. You have to have the rule of law, you have to have the enforcement of contracts, but the best role for the federal government is basic research and helping launch new technologies that are just getting their footing.
So I take that as a supportive position of rolling back subsidies for oil and gas. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are in the presence of greatness as we have Senator Risch, who's the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. He's got another cabinet nominee with Senator Rubio.